ghosts right in front of me. I've been seeing people who have died, seeing them like I'm seeing you right now. They were murdered.
So, are you on medication?
Well, they kind of crept in, I'd say. That I started with only one episode and was, I think, expected to make a decision based off one episode, but I was desperate for episode 2 at the end, you know? And I think Harlan Coben has this great ability to really tease the audience with his incredible cliffhangers, and obviously the many twists that came just in episode 1 led me to need episode 2. I read episode 2 and then needed episode 3. I just wanted to know, I was so curious.
Yes.
Come on, don't be annoying.
We said, because we said at the beginning, it could be what you want it to be. So it's how you see it, really. I know how I see it, and I have one very definite opinion, but I think that we all have different opinions as to what really happened to him.
I think there was a lot of similarities, a lot of comparisons between myself and him, and I think that's, again, one of the reasons I was drawn to play the character. I think I'm at a time in my life where I'm sort of nearing 40, and all of a sudden I think traumas or mistakes or decisions of my past are sort of coming back to haunt me in a way that is making me view life very differently. And I think I was able to kind of sort of, you know, take on that role by kind of drawing on my own experiences of life and relationships, and as much as I haven't been through anything quite as traumatic as Joel, I think it's yeah, thankfully it's not like a stretch of the imagination as to what that would feel like, you know, to have lost a sister and to lose your father and to find out you have a long lost son. You know, I think there's a lot of things he's going through. But because they kind of all came thick and fast, and I think really it was just sort of, yeah, it's all there in the writing. I guess you just kind of prepare in that respect. I mean, that's such a poignant moment in the story, because I think that's when the sort of severity of it kind of takes heed. Like, I mean, it obviously happens completely unexpectedly. He doesn't know there's a body up there until he's in there and feels the energy of whatever it is that's sort of been talking to him. But yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that's when the sort of weight of what he's dealing with kind of comes up against him. So yeah, I would say yes, that is 100% the sort of turning point for him. But also for the exterior, the people on the outskirts, like the police, who then start kind of questioning how on earth, his best friend, that's the moment his friend's like, how on earth did you find a body? Like, what? I don't know, voices are telling me to check it, yeah.
Yeah, what I loved about the ending was that it's so ambiguous, and I love how it really shows. It doesn't clarify anything really, and it's much the same when somebody says, "Oh, have you ever seen a ghost before?" And you think, "Yeah," and some people fully believe that there are ghosts, and then others don't. But it's kind of left to the audience to kind of sit with, and it kind of puts the power back on them and being like, "What do you think?" Which I felt is quite empowering and an interesting way to end the series.
Oh, so you noticed. Yeah, I think it's a really important thing, and you don't know what that might be setting up if there was ever a season 2, that whether she would then start being able to kind of connect with the outer world. But you get the idea that Joel has been obsessing over these tapes. Like, you only sort of see it a few moments, but he's obviously a very obsessive person, and obviously the conversations that he's having with these past patients are conversations his dad has recorded and he's replaying in his head. Yeah, I think it's very, very important that she kind of stumbles across them, and maybe she puts two and two together and realizes that's how and why he went through what he went through.
We talked amongst ourselves quite a bit about this, and we were happy in the end that we've provided a sort of answer and the audience can make their own mind.
Gotcha.
And then what we want this to be the water cooler talk. I mean, that's a great, obviously you asked that question, you watched it, you get it. And so I don't want to, we don't want to put a stamp on it so there's a definitive answer. We all actually have answers to it. Some of us feel differently. But that's exactly, the fact that you're asking that is very flattering. I mean, it means that we sort of accomplish what we want, and we hope that people will have spirited discussions about that, and then, go from there. I'm sorry, we'll give you other spoilers, but that one, I think we just would rather leave to you.
Again, I think that's what opens up the conversation between, the possible future conversations between himself and Jenna. But nevertheless, I feel like it's a blurred line. Like you still don't know really exactly. Obviously, his father, the vision of his father is a complete figment of his imagination. So that is something he is imagining. They aren't conversations that existed before. They are conversations happening now. So there are elements where he, is a blurred line. And I remember we were talking about the rules of like the ghosts coming in, because there's obviously the moment with Arlo Jones when Arlo Jones comes back to visit, and Arlo Jones isn't dead. So it's like what is, and then Arlo Jones is also able to touch him and fight with him, in comparison to some of the other visions that he's not able to touch, like Sutton, for example. I think so. I don't know whether he even fully understands or comprehends the sort of the weight of that. But the one thing I've learned in the last year is you should never wait for someone else's apology for closure. Like you have to find that within yourself. You have to be able to forgive them yourself without them needing to apologize, because that apology might never come, and the closure you're looking for might never come. So yeah, I think it doesn't really matter what his father said. I think he was ready to let go, because his view of his dad has completely changed. Everything he ever believed about his father is gone. I think there was a father before Sutton's death, and there was a father afterwards. But that death changed all of their lives. Sutton's death changed all of them. For the worse, but this is why I think communication is key, especially within a family unit, and especially with grief. I think those traumas, when not addressed and when not talked about and discussed and shared and felt, they'll still be there. They'll bubble up when you least expect it. I don't think Laz does. I do think Aidan does, which is sort of suggested at the very, very end. There's a moment when Laz goes back to the psychiatric ward and is researching the priest that jumped. And there's another doctor in the office, and Laz is sort of saying, "You met with him, how?" And then the other doctor says, "Well, you met with him." And Laz can't remember. And he's like, "Yeah, you met with him numerous times." So there's like it was in that moment, I remember reading that episode and me going, like, he has these memory lapses. So there's definitely an element of me that believes that maybe there's more to Laz. There is like something awry. I don't know what it is. And it's not explored beyond that one moment where he like forgets that he meets a patient. And he seems to be someone who's so on it all the time that why did he not remember meeting someone numerous times? And it's never, it's never addressed, it's never talked about beyond that moment. But it's it's interesting. I'm curious myself. I think I like to think Aidan would just go and hand himself into the police and say, "I'm sorry, I did some bad things." I don't think it's that simple. I feel like with Laz, his desire and obsession with trying to understand people he would want to understand and also stay connected to his son. So whether or not he ends up getting involved with trying to cover up or, you know, does the right thing. I just feel like he makes a lot of bad decisions, Laz. But yeah, I think it's always interesting, I think, not knowing what happens next. And I think what's great about the ending as it is because they definitely tried different variations of the ending, whether he had a knife and whether he didn't have a knife. And I think the way that they've ended it is sort of definitely suggestive. You know, I think there's even blood on the knife as well, which, you know, suggests that Laura has passed on. But yeah, you just don't know. You don't know.
Do you think they chose the best ending of all the ones that they tried?
I think so. Yeah, I think it sort of leaves it because you don't know what has happened really. Anything could have happened. He could have cut his hand. But the fact that Aidan sort of appears in these weird places, and yeah, it's very suspect. I don't think so. I think they find their peace. I think there's, you know, Laz has sort of comes to terms with the fact that he also lied about that evening and has lied and lived with that lie, and I think recognises that guilt and shame that Jenna would have been feeling, and also it wasn't her fault. Like, I think Laz, yeah, I think they make amends. You know, which is with that moment where they're watching the old videos of them and Sutton, which is when Laz then notices that the teddy bear's sort of still there. So I feel like no, they reunite. I think she survives, and Laz and Laura live happily ever after, and Aidan goes to jail.
The end.
Yeah, that's it. That's season 2. That's all it is. We just go and go on
rom-com,
honeymoon to
season 2.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
No, I think he's done something bad to her. Like I think he's ended her life. And so maybe the next sort of moment is her coming in, but it's actually the ghost of Laura. But Laz thinks, oh well, thank God you're still alive, and she's not.
Oh gosh,
you know,
he's so unreliable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I think she sits with that regret and has thought about that probably every day of her life since, and finds it really hard to let that guilt go. Yeah, and to keep that secret. She's kept that on her own, which is probably a really lonely place for her to be.
Yeah.
I consider it a great stunt. Sorry to bring it down to that, but that is where it came from. I think when we first started talking about it, she didn't die that way.
I don't remember. I was definitely Danny, if I remember correctly. That death was Danny. You want to talk about that, Danny?
Well, you know, I'd wanted to do that kind of thing, just because it just felt a really big sequence, you know, and I think it deserved that kind of big moment. And I don't know whether you'd call it appropriate justice, but it's certainly justice of a sort.
We also like to have things that are good.
She had to die for our story because Laz had to find out the real truth from Dr. Laz. He couldn't, and if Brown had lived, he would have found it out in a much less dramatic way. So all we said to Danny is she needs to die.
Yeah, we wanted to sort of clear the deck so that you sort of, okay, it's over, we've solved the mystery. Oh wait, maybe we haven't. This is a show of, oh wait, maybe we haven't, a lot, where you thought you sort of had an answer all the way through. 6 episodes. I think it's a lot of, oh, that's the answer. Oh wait, no, that just leads to more questions. And so we needed that, I think, so we could clear the decks for the next big twist, which can then lead to the next big twist, which led to your cassette tape question.